Hello, Aquarius, and welcome to Catalyst Energies. Welcome to your astrology forecast for the week of, really, the week of December 10th up to the full moon in Gemini. But these reports are really going to be bi-weekly, so the full moon and the new moon. So this report is really centered around our upcoming full moon in Gemini, which is happening on December 18th, 2021, but we are going to kind of take a little retrospective look back and see what has transpired, because there were some pretty heavy-hitting astrology transits over the weekend coming into this week, and then we'll be ramping up again at this weekend as well. So Aquarius, what I picked out for you in terms of Aquarius rising, Aquarius moon, Aquarius sun, in that order in terms of this reading, is a lot of a burden. And I think really this stems from and ultimately a leadership potential, but the burden is also very much involved in it, is because the realm of the solar eclipse, which happened on the 4th, and the sun at the galactic center is in the 11th house for Aquarius, right in with the Sagittarius. Mars is now coming into the 11th house, and Mercury up until very recently was also in this area. So there's been some shifting of gears here, but for the most part, it's the realm of Aquarius itself where a lot of the action in terms of this Sagittarian mode of things, especially because we have the South Node still in Sagittarius. This was a very intense solar eclipse that is beginning a process of purification that's going to last for a number of months, really. It's just how eclipses are, right? The energy reverberates out for a longer period of time because it's not fully expressed at that moment, because there are karmic implications when the nodes of the moon are involved. So Aquarius, the 11th house is traditionally the Aquarian house. And so to have this be the area also of where it all kind of begins, with, at least right now, with this cycle with the eclipses and just leading into a Gemini full moon, there is a lot of transformational and burden, right? There's a lot of creative energy that Aquarius is kind of having to shoulder for the collective right now in terms of purification. Well, as far as the other signs, I mean, with the exception, I think, of maybe Pisces and having Capricorn be the 11th house. Aquarius is really shouldering a lot of this, what's going on in the social order as a whole. So, and also too, because the South Node has been in the 11th house for Aquarius, we find that a lot of where we've all been at a soul level and moving away from is still very much characterizing the nature of the social order for Aquarius. This is where Aquarius people extract their meaning from, is the social organism as a whole. And so to have that be going through a very deep purification process is a lot of why I feel like I'm getting the 10 of Wands and then the King of Wands for Aquarius for this reading. There is a lot of shouldering of the collective's burden as the nature of being an Aquarius, right? The Aquarius person is the person who is capable of holding the charge of the resonance or the frequency of the entire collective as a whole. And this is a very important this is like being a battery almost, socially, and Aquarian people can really hold a lot of charge, but that requires that they do not become fully attached, I think, to the outcomes and certainly to their own feelings, because the feelings are really the conduit and the conduit for all of this, for this energy. So Aquarius, it is. But the leadership potential that emerges as a result is very strong. And in this particular card that I pulled, at the King of Wands, there's a big old lion on it. And what we'll see here for Aquarius is that the full moon is going to be in the 5th house. This is the house of the sun. This is the house of pride and ego and creative expression. It's where we exteriorize the full nature of who we are, and the lion and Leo is, the 5th house. So Aquarius is going to, and has been going through a process with the North Node in Gemini through the fifth house for the last year and a half. Like, we're all being drawn in a direction that has fundamentally to do with the opposite of Aquarius nature, which is to be completely self-absorbed and, just be your own shining node. But Aquarius, this is why this place is so important to consider, because it's one thing to shoulder the burden of what is going away in the social arena, right, in the 11th house, and to acknowledge that. It's another thing entirely for Aquarius to allow themselves to truly express their joy and their passion, and what is it that allows them to exteriorize their true nature, which is very much about their intelligence, the realm of the mind, and the ability to access the full range of ideas and concepts and manifestation. So, and just research, honestly. I mean, if you want to put it down to something very basic for the Aquarian person, the thing that really gets the Aquarian person is the data sets, and engaging with them, researching with them, going into a topic and really learning as much as you can about it. This is such Aquarian people, Aquarius rising, and then moon and sun. But of course, because the fifth house is Gemini, strong Orion, very strong Orion starseed connections in general with Aquarian people, especially with the fifth house being the Gemini house. So there's something about the way Aquarian people have been expressing themselves, finding their center, finding their voice, and what allows them to feel some joy and optimism in life. It has really been where we've all needed to go, which is in the realm of Gemini and the mind. And so with the full moon in particular, it's going to be the mental sphere and the ideas that have been really helping us identify ourselves, or at least express ourselves. The concepts, the ideas, just the dialectic, just working with the dialectic in general has been really important. And there's going to be this point here where you eventually realize that you have to come back down and make a decision emotionally after you have worked in the realm of Mercury long enough, right? Eventually, you have to let go of the past in order to step into the future, and that's where you put your roots down. There's something about the Aquarian person as an individual sovereign being, and the work that has been done in this realm is there'll be one last big reveal about what's holding us back. And I say us because I actually have an Aquarius rising. So what is holding us back from truly expressing who we are, or coming to make a decision about something, which, with Cancer in the sixth house, that's a whole nother story. So that's where the nature of the full moon is, and Black Moon Lilith will be here in the fifth house as well. So whether you like it or not, she's coming out. She demands to be heard, and it's primal, and it has to do with our self-preservation and connecting to something deeper than even our own subconscious, something that is about the history of life on this planet and the divine feminine in general. And Black Moon Lilith is the dark feminine, and a lot of times is the angry activist. And so she's going to make herself heard again, regardless. And maybe it's time for Aquarius to really find their voice through the final release of this unbearable pressure, either through some sort of writing, some sort of creative pursuit, some sort of, it can express itself in a lot of different ways. But there's been a lot of research and a lot of draw towards this area for the past year and a half for Aquarius, that it's now time to, come to a decision about something, and especially come to a decision about what it is that gets us up in the morning, and what it is that allows us to have some joy in life. And when are we in the zone, right? When do you forget about yourself because you're fully being yourself, is the fifth house. There's something there that needs to be released. And I think, again, a lot of it, unfortunately, is coming from our connection into the collective almost directly. We're shouldering a burden. So in some ways, I think Aquarian people are going to be the one to voice in a lot of ways what needs to go through their own self. And when they allow that energy to move strongly through them. And so this is where the King of Wands energy comes from as well. It's not going to be easy though. So Venus and Pluto in a conjunction, gosh, in the 12th house, again, it's bringing this destructive element right to our sense of collective value and what it means to be responsible and to work together and the meaning of that, but also our bodies, right? And our ability to connect into the quantum realm through our very physical nature. Something very significant was brought to our attention and offered up as some sort of release point for Aquarian people in the spiritual realm. Now, it was brought from the spiritual right into our immediate sensible awareness, right? Into our value. And when you talk about the 12th house, it's the social value of being together. It's the social value that is implicit in just being together, and that there's no difference between you or I or anything else because we all come from source. And it's only when we come back to ourselves that we really are able to realize this. This is why people, go off and are in isolation in order to have this experience. But for Aquarian people, it is the oh boy, I feel like that it could have came about in a lot of different ways, but it certainly has us reevaluating, and becoming more aware of this, cycle in a karmic way that is coming to a close for Aquarian people. And this is important because when Pluto comes into Aquarius, Aquarian people are really going to go through a massive transformation of self, just like Capricorn people have been going through it over the past, 12, 13, 14 years at this point. And once Pluto comes into Aquarius, then it is going to be the Aquarian people that are the most impacted by this transformational, raw, destructive energy. So, stuff that is happening in the background, stuff that is happening quantum, multidimensional, our own, the society's karma, right? It's inseparable from us at this point, and it got brought right into our lap, basically. So there'll be 2 more times that this happens, and so Aquarius, be ready for a much more internalized experience of this in just a couple of days. So we also see that the moon and Neptune were together. They both squared the sun on Friday the 10th, right? So Friday the 10th was this square. This happened on Saturday, the 11th, and the 12th. This is when the sun and Neptune were exact. And then we go on from there, throughout the week. So the moon and Neptune has been in, the second house for Aquarius, especially Neptune's been here for a while. And, the very nature of the return, our connection to source or God is the currency of the Aquarian person. They are the water bearer. So the water is their currency. It is their asset. It is what they have. And specifically the Pisces water, which is formless and boundaryless and infinite and forever. So it's the Akashic field, it's the morphogenetic field, it is the quantum field, whatever, however you want to experience it or explain it. This is the asset of the Aquarian person. So they pretty much can bring, just by being themselves, when they are embedded in the full spiritual reality, there's no limit to the potential of what can be created in consciousness, right here in the third house, which of course for Aquarius, this is where some of the most triggering wounded healer energy is in the mind, right? And so you can see how this full moon in Gemini for Aquarius, going back to the function of the mind, the learning and the language and the communication on a regular basis, how that is being impacted and impeded with this Chiron wounding. And there's something very important that Aquarians need to be able to get out. They need to be able to express themselves, and they hold back. Aquarian people, I think, are holding back in their immediate environment because there's some overlay of a wounded identity that does not allow for an easy focus on the potential of our own consciousness, right? And with Neptune and I think a lot of it has to do right now is that there's so much of this energy focused in the 11th house, which it always is every year that the sun moves through Sagittarius, and certainly Mercury is not far behind. But to have the South Node here in terms of our past, and Mars showing up as well, I mean, it really is a strong, fiery realm of meaning that is falling away ultimately for the Aquarian person. And to hold that space and not be impacted is definitely part of the burden. But the leadership that comes out of it is incredible. And the roar of the lion, I think, is really going to be strong for Aquarian people, especially with Black Moon Lilith to back it up, right? And to be the force behind it. But it's Chiron. It's Chiron that really, for a while, has really stifled the conscious awareness and the learning process of Aquarius, because, you have to, the wounded healer energy, or being a victim, or just not having any confidence in what, or there is something that is imposed upon us about just feeling guilty or ashamed for even having a mind and using it. That seems to be because if you do that, you step out of line and you don't follow the identity that's been imposed upon you. So the second house, I think, is such a huge asset to Aquarian people, and Neptune being here for many, many years, and for years beyond this, is very powerfully making everything that it touches turning it into an asset for the Aquarian person, right? Realizing that everything is the same as everything else, and there's no separation. At that point, Aquarian people there's no holding back from manifestation, nothing, because everything is a potential resource in which to create from when it's Pisces. My God. But the moon coming into Neptune and then both squaring the sun. Again, it's really trying to extract meaning from the social environment as a whole. And that meaning is so, with K2 still being in Sagittarius, I mean, we're really pulling away from the meaning of society and the meaning that we get from the social order, which is very, it's very natural for Aquarius to want to do that, and to really got the social justice warrior energy coming in. And if you have a lot of Sag, even more so, it's going to be even more intense, I think, in terms of identifying oneself with the larger group and the meaning that it has for us. It's just we're meant to let it go, but we're meant to also harness the very basic principles of alchemy to propel us forward into our magic again. But Aquarian people, again, feeling a lot of guilt and shame for even having a mind and using it, which is a real shame. But like I said, the roar of the lion is coming, and it's going to be this full moon for Aquarius that's going to see exactly, and not even see it, it's just going to come out, right? The moon in the fifth house, I mean, it's just going to be such a seamless, expression in some ways. And then with, like I said, Lilith to back it up. Now, when you are used to extracting meaning from the social value system and and really trying to find your voice here. I mean, Mercury and the Sun and even Mars, I have all of these in Sagittarius, and I'm an Aquarius rising. So I feel like it's just like, damn, it's all up here, right? And this is just saying like everything is a resource. Everything is a resource, like everything. In fact, that there's no difference between you and everything else. So it's all a resource that you can align with and will manifest into whatever resonates with you. So it's just that there are these, really karmic cycles that are coming to an end for Aquarius that is being brought right into our five senses, perhaps into our body. And it's not just ours. We are connecting to an entire set of karmic cycles for Aquarius right now. With that. So Mercury comes into the 12th house now. So now the realm of the mind, which is ruling the 5th house and is going to rule this full moon, is coming into the transcendental realm. And so you may find that the mental processes are going to start really focusing within, like really and seriously, and really trying to, get at some deeper meaning here. And the square to Chiron is we're going to see here as we go forward to the full moon, right? Go to the full moon, because right now the moon is in Taurus. It went through Taurus. And so for Aquarian people, find that the moon going through the 4th house, like the inner life just got that much more sensitive, and our sensitivity to home and family just increased quite a bit, and wanting to be very much held by that place. So that was very nice, and in some ways I think also very it was a little bit, dense. It was just kind of like, okay, just slow down here. So with the full moon, as we see here, not only we have a full moon, the sun is at the galactic center in the 11th house. But what we're going to find is now that Mercury has moved into the 12th house, it is going to be in a square to Chiron. And so there are things in the ether, Aquarius, that we are picking up on. We are tapped directly into the collective unconscious just as a result of who we are. And now the mind is going to be very tuned into this, but it's going to be about which frequency band is our mind tuned into, and how does that input what is going on with Chiron. We're all going to have this experience here. But with Aquarius, what we're going to find is that it's going to things that we didn't even know that we are tapping into, old patterns, past life stuff, right? Aspects that are bringing right into our bodies with Venus are now going to, start to become mentally aware of and really going within. So meditation and really finding time to be introspective and to do certain things. Writing is going to be a big part of this process for Aquarius people. Whatever way, writing, blogging, expressing yourself, whatever it is, getting your mind into that place. And then where it's tuned into is going to either reinforce a lot of the wounding, especially if you're tuned into, the universal current of the old guard or the false new guard or the prime reality and the natural organic resonance. Those things are going to, we'll have options to tune into all of those, and it's either going to exacerbate this Chiron wound and make us feel even worse about having a mind, or it will release us. It will release us for the trauma that is holding us back. And it's really, I feel like with Aquarius, it's a lot of past life stuff, and it's a lot of connecting into the multidimensional, having both, multidimensional into the quantum realm, what we can't even see, right? We can't even see, we can't even really even rationalize, even though the mind wants to. The best thing for Aquarius is to allow the mind to, again, just truly be tuned in to the right channel. And the right channel is either going to set us free in our minds, or it is going to reinforce those voices in our head that tell us that we suck. So this is... And it really has to do, I think, with the mind a lot, and into our upper chakras for Aquarius. So again, heavy burden, but the the expression and the potential for leadership and a sense of real power is also very high with all of this for Aquarius. So let's see what else is going on here for Aquarius, because I think that's good. I think that's plenty of information, Aquarius. Again, it's the being the full shining sun that you are, which is very antithetical to Aquarius in general, because Leo rules the 5th house, but it's in the case of the Aquarius, it's through the realm of the mind that one can really find their voice and expression and research and all of the very Orion things, actually, as Orion starseed. So you may have Orion starseed markings in your 5th house or in your 1st house if you are an Aquarius person. So that's pretty important, because when Pluto comes into Aquarius in 2024 and is there for years and years and years, just wreaking havoc on the social order in general, not even the institutions, but the energy and the connection with all of us, the Aquarian people are going to go through it, just like Capricorn people have been going through it. Since 2008 for the most part, right? Depending on where your 1st house cusp is. And so going through, being tuned into the right channel and the right frequency in the astral, in, the spiritual realm is going to be very important. And I think that there was definitely an attack on that realm for Aquarian people over the weekend, and I know that I felt it in my body. There was no way around it. Like, I couldn't do anything because of how intense and loud the experience was. So I'm curious what people have to say about that. But Aquarius, I'm going to leave it there for you. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. If you're interested in supporting this work, if you're interested in getting more information about Catalyst Energies, and certainly if you want to book a personal reading, you can stick around for the end of this video and get some more information, or you can visit any of the links in the description box below. That'll also do it as well. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Enjoy the full moon as much as you can, Aquarius especially. Let it out, right? Let it right out of your voice, however it needs to come out in your exteriorization of self. Let it out, because somebody's going to need to hear it. And I think that is something really important to consider. So take care, Aquarius. We will touch base again in 2 weeks. So bye.